Hello, hello. Welcome to the Strug because the Strug is real. And if you don't know what Strug means, it means struggle. I just like to hyphenate everything, or not hyphenate, but cut the word short. Just because I say the Strug is real all the time, so that's why it's called the Strug. My name is May, aka May B. I am a tattoo artist, tattoo apprentice under the tattoo artist Chris Garman. And yeah, that is me. This podcast is about pretty much anything and everything that I want it to be. A lot pertaining about art, a lot pertaining about psychology, a lot pertaining about books, a lot pertaining about literally any and everything. And today's episode is gonna be about why are a lot of artists in the world introverts. I really just decided to talk about this today. I don't know why it popped into my head, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to talk about it, and I'm going to research it a little bit and see what I can find. And it just validated everything I already felt already, but I wanted to dive into it and see what you guys think and see if you guys agree. If you are an artist, and this does not just pertain to tattoo artists or painters or anything, it pertains to all aspects of art, because I think that a lot of the percentage, and I'll show you the statistics that I have, that a lot of forms of artists all around the world and all different types end up being introverts, and I think there's a big reason for that. So I hope you enjoy this video, and let's get into it. If you look at the world as a whole, and I mean all over the world, every decade, every century, every culture, and every facet of art, and there's so many facets of art in the world that you could literally have thousands of thousands I could talk about today. But I mean, just for a few examples, music, poetry, dancing, tattooing, drawing, painting, clothing, fashion designer, all of those, and even more. You can go on and on about the list of different types of artists. But it's interesting if you really look at them, and if you picked out a famous painting or a famous piece of clothing or a famous poem that you really love, odds are that that artist who created that is an introvert. And I think that's a very interesting phenomenon, the fact that most artists are introverts. And if you really think about it, it's not that deep on the surface about why a lot of artists are introverts. And it's a known thing that most artists, they express themselves and their personality through their art forms. They are able to express how they feel and what they're going through mentally through whatever facet and whatever medium that they decide to use and what speaks to them more. So that's the known fact about why artists are introverts, and it doesn't really take a rocket scientist to wrap your mind around that. But I just find I feel like it has more to do with that. There's more to that than just simply it's how they release themselves. Yes, that's true, but I feel like there's a lot more. And I'm gonna talk about a statistic I found. I googled a statistic, and on the website makingamark.com and blog, they took a poll of artists and to ask them if they identified as an introvert and extrovert, and 3/4 of the people who took this poll identified as an introvert. And I completely believe that, and not just in the poll they did, but around the world. I would say 3/4 out of all artists in the world are 100% introverts. I think that is a very fair statistic. If you put 4 artists in a room, no matter what medium they use, I would have a good feeling that 3 out of 4 of those people are introverts. And jumping back to the basic answer that I had, which is they release themselves through their artwork. That's how artists are. I looked at the website Quora. I feel like it's a really known website, but a guy left a post, and his name was Ryan Swallow. I don't know if that's his actual name, but that was his username on the website. I took a quote from him, and he said, "From a very young age, I found more pleasure in being alone than around other people." End quote. And I think that is really fair to say about most artists. Most artists live in their head. Most artists, their art has nothing to do with other people. Yes, they might, paint other people and make clothes for other people, but whatever they create has everything to do with them. It has nothing to do with another person. You might get inspiration from another person, but it is your mind that you are solely using. You have joy out of that. You don't need anybody else around you to be inside your head to pour it out. You add the element of having your art form and your pretty much you, because you are your art form. You're pouring your own head and your own feelings and your own expression out of whatever medium you're doing. And once you add a monetary thing to that, it can get really fucking murky, because then it almost feels like you have to be a certain way to be successful and to make money. If you just created art, didn't have to worry about anything, you just created it, didn't give a shit who saw it, and you were really just pouring out your emotions and your personality onto whatever you're doing, that is, you're 100% being you, and you don't care who sees it, and there's nothing attached to it. But once you attach a monetary, like you're trying to make a living off of it, it can get a little fucked up. Me being a tattoo artist, I think it can be a little different, just because after you learn how to really tattoo, after you learn how to get the mechanics of it, and you learn how to be safe with it, it can be a very dangerous job, just because you're fucking with people's bodies, you're fucking with people's health systems, and it's on them forever. It's not like a painting where you can just fucking burn that shit, or a clothing piece you can just rip apart. It's a tattoo. It's on you forever. So if you fuck up, you fuck up. So that's one thing you have to be careful of as an artist. Really, that's not even the artist's part. That's just the technical part. But it's pretty much like always guaranteed, just because a lot of tattoos that people ask for, they come at you with something that they want. Like it's a service, and they're getting something out of it, right? And it's on them forever. Like it's a little bit different. But for somebody who's like, let's say a painter, let's say they are pouring their heart and soul onto this painting, right? And nobody likes it. Nobody buys it. I think that is a big ass ego hit, and a big ass like, nobody likes me. Like nobody, then feelings get involved, right? I think nobody wants to buy my stuff. This is a extension of me. This painting is me. So if nobody's buying it, that means nobody likes me. I think a lot of artists teeter with that. And that happens once you add value to it. And then I think that's why artists tend to not fuck with people, because especially if it's your job, especially if you're trying to gain a monetary value out of it, the minute you let people in, that's going to dictate your art, because the art is you. So it's going to dictate what it looks like when you paint, when you create anything you do. If you're getting all this negative feedback, it's going to fucking show, because you're spilling out your brains onto whatever you're doing, right? So I think that's why a lot of artists are guarded and tend to stay to themselves, really just for protection and for their own mental state, because you almost have to be solitary? Yeah, solitary, to completely not have any effect on your art from outside things. Obviously, I think some artists are forced into it, or they take it to a big degree. Like, I can't remember what his name was, but there was an artist who locked himself in a mansion for 3 years, didn't speak to fucking anybody, and just painted and painted and painted. And then he got famous for all these artworks that were amazing and cool, but look to the lengths that he did to not have people fuck with him. That's a very extreme. I get it. People suck. I get it. But damn, that's taking it to me a very different level. And no hate. He did it. He got what he wanted, I guess. Or maybe he was just testing out a theory to see if his artwork would be better if he didn't have any influences. And his theory proved himself right. Being introverted as an artist is almost critical, because it's all you. And I think that especially applies to people who are starting out. I think a lot of artists start out, it starts out as a passion. It starts out as you just being you and letting your whatever medium you're using speak for you, right? That's, I guess, what being an artist is. And then once you try to make it a career, you end up doing shit that you think will gain you success. but it's not necessarily who you are. And then you have to ask yourself, well, fuck, like, is this even my art? Like, is this even me? Because I'm doing it for somebody else, so it isn't fucking me, but I have to. I feel like I have to, make money. And I think that's where a lot of artists become depressed even more, is because you're fighting a lot in your own brain of like, I'm trying to translate who I am on this thing, right? But then I have to almost not do that and tweak it and do shit I would never do so other people will buy it. And when you think about artists who didn't do that, who like really just like stayed true to them no matter what, a lot of them didn't start out making a lot of money, and most of them didn't make money until after they were fucking dead. Vincent Van Gogh didn't have shit. That's the thing that pisses me off too. Like, all these people suffered. Like, all these artists who really, like, the most famous ones, I think, are the ones that suffered the most. And they, Vincent Van Gogh didn't have money at all when he was fucking alive. And then not right when he died, but when he died, that's when his paintings became worldwide and fucking rich as shit. If he was alive now, man would be a billionaire. Like, he tried to go to art school. And I think he did try to make it a career, but like everyone said, you fucking suck. So, exactly. What did that do? That fucked him up. And then he died, and then everyone was like, oh, never mind, it's actually really good. Fuck you. Like, that's so fucked up. I don't care. And I guess I'm talking a lot about paintings and that type of artist just because I feel like that's closest to tattooing, and that's what I do. But I think if you've seen this movie on Netflix, it's called Big Eyes. This movie is really fucking weird, and it's based on a true story. So, like, to snippet a little bit of it, this woman was the painter. She made these paintings of these children who had big ass eyes, and that was how she spoke. That was her. She had a whole reason of why she did that. It spoke true to her. But she, as a person, was actually very fucking quiet. It was really hard for her to talk to people and express it to other people just because she didn't know how to put it into words. Or she was, she wasn't a super lively person, but she painted those things. And then this motherfucker, the performer. It's the same thing as like a ghostwriter and the person who's on stage. It's very similar. Like, this guy, he comes over, first of all, lies his ass off and says that he's a painter. No, he's not. He's a scam artist. Taking other people's paintings and saying it's his. And then what does he do? He does the same thing to her. He marries her. He gets some, like, I don't know how they were able to do it, but I think he met somebody and he put both of their artworks, the one that he said he painted, which was like a nature scene, oil painting of like nature, like landscapes. And then her painting of the child with the big eyes was right next to it. And then it was like inside of a bathroom or something. This man, rich as shit, he comes up to her. He's like, this painting speaks to me. I love it. Are you the artist? And he's talking about the kid with the big eyes painting, which he didn't fucking paint. He didn't paint either of these things. But like, he's like, yes, sir, I did. And he's like, he has this big ass personality. He goes on talk shows, TV shows, putting on a show because that's what he's talented at. He was never the painter. And the woman just like sat in this attic painting these things, not talking to anybody. I was like, dude. But the whole reason I bring that up is like, she was not able to talk about it. Like, I think a lot of artists are. She was not able to put it in words. She was not able to, put herself out there. The only way she could express herself was through these paintings with the kids with the big eyes. And so many people it spoke to. But for some reason, nobody paid attention to it until, the fact that it was a man, that he said he painted it. But that was only because the man who was interested in the first place, it was like a very sexist time. She did that. And this man who had this is the thing I was getting at. Once you like really got her to do it, she could explain to you in words why she painted what she painted. And it was because it was her mind. This man was asked on the TV show, like, why did you paint this? What does it mean? What does it mean to you? And obviously art is interpreted in many different ways, but the original painter is going to have a specific opinion. Even if their opinion, it doesn't mean shit. That's still what they originally thought. But he was like, oh, it doesn't mean anything, like it's whatever. But she actually had this whole deep meaning of this painting, and he just said, oh no, it's just a kid. I just love children. And that looked sketch as shit. It was like, oh, so you're a pedophile. Got it. But it's just crazy how I think a lot of artists tend to be introverts. That's the whole reason I made this episode. It's just a lot of them, yes, like I said, on the surface, it's just because that's how they express themselves, and that's the only way they can for the most part. But then once you add all these elements of like money and trying to make a career out of it, I think that makes you even more of an introvert, because if you let society dictate it too much, it's not going to be you anymore. So you have to almost continue to be an introvert. And not that it's like a Selfridge thing. Maybe to some artists it is. But I think a lot of artists choose to be that way because people fucking suck. It's like, the guy from the Quora.com, the Swallows, when he said, I get full enjoyment out of being alone. And I think that's most artists. I think most artists are able to create and be inside their head and live in these lands and create these characters or stories or, worlds, and dump it onto a piece of a canvas of any media, and they get full fulfillment out of it. They don't need other people to be involved. And I can say that with myself. When I'm creating a drawing, when I am reading a book, when I'm writing a story, because I have been getting into writing more, yes, snaps for me. I don't need anybody around me. I don't need anybody to be around me. Please be not near me. Like, I don't know, when I'm outside taking photography, unless it's of somebody, like, I don't need anybody to be there, because it's almost like I keep myself company just great. Like, just fine. Like, and most artists, when you're doing something that's your own art, again, it's not collaborative. Like, it's you. So you're like your best friend. I think most artists are their best friend. And that's just, I think that's what it boils down to for the most part. But I just think the topic itself is very interesting. You see the artists who are extroverts, like super fucking extroverts. The only one I can really think of that was like a very big extrovert as an artist was like Salvador Dali. That man was crazy, but like in the best way. Like he made these crazy ass pieces of art and furniture and everything, every facet of it, and it was so weird. I don't know. It's like, but also like, yes, he was an extrovert, but I also don't think he needed anybody to be there. Like, I think he would have done the exact same shit if nobody was in the room. I think it just made him feel better that people were. Like, it gave him an audience. Like, he was a performer as well. And some artists are like that. Like, I'm not saying every single performer is not an artist. Because that is an art form in and of itself. So you can be both. You can be the performer and the artist at the same time. Like, not every artist is going to be a performer, but because performance is a form of art form, you need to be somewhat of an artist, but you don't have to be multiple than one. Another form of art that is very introverted, and I feel like it's a very memeable thing, and it's like a phenomenon that people talk about, is fashion designers. Fashion designers are known to be very fucking introverted for the most part. If you've watched Project Runway, which I did with my mother a lot for a year straight, these artists would create these extravagant, like, moving part, these designed pieces, right? And these models would walk them out. They're all colorful, or they're all like crazy and fucking like they're crazy ass like pieces of clothing, right? And then the fucking artist comes out and it's this little meek person, man or woman, and they're wearing like beige clothing. They're very timid, and they're just like, this is my art. It's like weird. It's a crazy fun. Like, it's crazy that most artists are like that, and that's just one like representation of it. Is fashion designers is like they're able to express exactly who they are in their clothing, but once you see them in person, you would never fucking know that, because I think society assumes that people who are extroverted, people who show who they are on their sleeve, I guess, are more accepted in society, and I guess that it's just human nature to do that. But still, it's like almost, it's still fucked up, like it's easier for people to judge what they see on a person, and when you're an artist, your physicality has nothing to do with it. It is completely your mind, and you translate that however you translate it. In society, I think so many people who have nothing to bring to the table, but they have good presence, get a lot further than people who don't, and that's the fucked up part. But still, seeing it in the memes, I will say is funny. I will say it's very funny. There was like a TikTok that I saw, and it was like this person created these crazy ass, like, mocking Project One, right, basically. And this man, he created these like trash bag galore outfits, rocking the runway, whatever. And then he's like, meet the artist, and then he comes out in like homeless looking clothes, and then you're just like, what the fuck, like, you did not expect that. And but it's cool also, like, on the outside it is cool to see the juxtaposition of like crazy ass art, holy shit, it's full of life, it's full of this, and then you see the person, you're like, oh damn, what the fuck, and I did not expect that out of you. And then, but that is who they are. And I think people also, when they see that, they automatically like get the wrong impression, like this isn't who they are, but that's exactly who they are. That still is that person. That crazy ass artwork that you see is that person. They are crazy as fuck. They are talented. They are colorful. They just don't show it on their surface. And I think that's pretty cool. I think it's like, I don't know, to me it makes people, artists of the world, mysterious. I think artists of the world are the mysterious people. Because you'll never fucking guess. Because we don't tell y'all. we don't, unless you show it on social media, like you're a social media personality, which, maybe I'm trying to be one, you never know. Unless you do that and market yourself, you are a very mysterious person to the world. All artists are. And I think that's really fucking cool. I mean, it's a little lonely, but it is really cool when you think about it. Yeah, so that was my episode on why all artists, or most artists, are introverts, and what does that affect in their everyday life, and so many other things I talked about. Just introversion in artistry. I could do a whole nother video on different century pieces and how it affected it, and then the women movement of art, and that's a whole different podcast. But I might make that one my next one. Actually, I might make that one my next one. After my books podcast, which I'm going to do next, that's going to be the very next one. I think I'm going to do a podcast on women in the artistry world from the beginning to mid-century to now. And very interesting. So, thank you so much for listening. This has been The Strug, because life is a strug. I will catch you guys on my next podcast, which will be about books. I don't know what I'm going to title yet, but it's going to be about books and why I love them and why I think everybody should read them. If you want to follow me on Instagram, my Instagram is at MAABETANCOURT, May Betancourt. Same thing for TikTok, same thing for YouTube. And I also have Maybe Inspiration. I also have Maybe Photos. If you want to follow Chris Garman, hey, what's up? You're the man. That's my tattoo artist, or my tattoo mentor. And he's at Chris Garman. He's at How To Tattoos. He's at Stencilnator, which is dope product. Look it up. And so many other accounts that he has. Just look them all up, and you'll have a great time. I will catch you guys later. Have a good day. Adios.
Oh, thank you.